Have you ever heard a story that made you stop and look at the way you live your life? This is one of them. A man, no inheritance, no tech startup, no lottery win, no surfing investment. But he did the unthinkable. Turned his thinking into real money, not just a few dollars, millions. The name is Napoleon Hill. And he didn't just write about how to get rich, he applied what he wrote to create wealth for himself. So the question is, thinking is invisible. How does it become real money? How can an idea in your head, if repeated long enough, turn into a bank account? Did he know a secret that 99% of people ignore? And if so, can we learn and follow it? In this video, I'll show you what Napoleon Hill did, how he thought, and how he acted to prove that. The right mindset, combined with a commitment to action, is the most powerful profit model of our time. Before becoming one of the most influential names in the field of thinking about wealth, Napoleon Hill was just a poor young man living in the mountains of Virginia. He was not born into wealth. He had no connections. He did not go to Harvard. The only thing he had when he started was a pen, a notebook, and a question. Is success only for lucky people? That question set Hill on a journey of more than 25 years. Interviewing 500 of the most successful people in the world at that time, including Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Andrew Carnegie, Alexander Graham Bell. But the interesting thing is, Hill was not paid for that. Carnegie only gave him a promise. If he found the formula, he would use that formula to create success for himself. And Hill did exactly that. He did not write Think and Grow Rich just to inspire, as many people think. He wrote to reprogram his own thinking and tested it on himself. Hill began to apply each principle. Write specific goals. Reprogram beliefs. Practice the habit of visualizing and repeating goals every day. Focus on value, not money. And the result, from a person no one knew, he became a self-made millionaire just by turning thinking into products, then into assets. Napoleon Hill's story is not about success theory. It is living proof that if you think right, clearly enough, and act on that thinking every day, your thinking will pay dividends in real money. After thousands of hours of interviewing, studying, and observing the world's most successful people, Napoleon Hill did more than just give inspirational advice. He distilled a conclusion that runs through every successful case. Definiteness of purpose, absolute clarity of purpose is the foundation of all achievements. Imagine your mind as a beam of light. If that light is diffused everywhere, it cannot create change. But if you focus it on a point like a laser, it can cut steel. Hill discovered that most failures think in a rambling, vague way. They say, I want to be successful, but do not know what success is. They say, I want to be rich, but do not know how much, how long. Meanwhile, successful people think very clearly. I will have $1 million from real estate in 5 years. I will be financially free by 40 with passive income from 3 sources. I will build a personal brand with 100K followers in 18 months. They don't dream anymore. They define their goals like a blueprint and start building brick by brick. In Think and Grow Rich, Hill doesn't just talk about directing your thinking. He gives you a specific formula for turning that thinking into life energy. Remember? Here are the classic 6 steps Hill asks you to take if you're serious. Determine how much money you want to make. Determine what you're going to do to get it. Set a clear time frame for completion. Write a short, clear goal statement. Read it out loud twice a day, morning and night. Visualize how it will feel when you have achieved it. Sounds simple? Yes, but simple doesn't mean easy to maintain. What makes this principle so powerful is that it focuses the power of your mind instead of letting it scatter throughout the day. When you have a clear goal, you know what to prioritize. Your brain begins to filter relevant information. You begin to see opportunities that you previously overlooked. You stop comparing yourself to others and start comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. Napoleon Hill once said, "A man without a clear goal is like a ship without a rudder, drifting, never reaching port." And you know it's true, because you've drifted. You've started without knowing why. You've done a lot, but never gotten anywhere. So if you find your thinking going in many directions today, stop and start again with a single question. What do I really want, so much so that I am willing to act on it every day? That is the power of directed thinking. Not to think for fun, but to guide action, to keep you grounded, and to turn ideas into assets. And Napoleon Hill didn't just write that. He lived, worked, and made real money, starting from this exact principle. After interviewing hundreds of the world's most successful people, Napoleon Hill didn't strike it rich. He didn't get $1 million book deal. There was no online community to share his thoughts. And he certainly wasn't paid to talk about thinking. But Hill knew one thing. If what he learned could help him, it could help millions of others. And so he set out, not for money, but for value. Hill spent nearly 20 years compiling interviews, observations, and verifications. There was no rush to publish, no chasing trends. But every line, every chapter of the first draft of Think and Grow Rich was written with one goal in mind: to create a mind map for success that anyone could use. When the book came out, Hill didn't call himself an expert. He called himself a reciter of proven formulas. And he shared what he learned before asking for anything from anyone else. Think and Grow Rich didn't explode right away. But readers started trying it. They saw results. They told others. And the book went viral not because of advertising, but because of real transformation from within the readers. Gradually, Hill was invited to speak, train, and advise entrepreneurs. The courses, talks, and book copyrights began to generate a steady and sustainable income stream. But the important thing is, everything he earned came from his proven thinking and the value he shared. Thinking, sharing, influence, finance. Hill's journey is a living testament to a formula that never gets old. Clear thinking plus committed action plus real value equals real cash flow. Hill doesn't sell dreams. He lived by the same principle he wrote and showed others. If you define what you want, live for it, and share values around it, money will follow. So when you hear someone say, thinking doesn't make money, remember Hill. Remember, thinking, when properly shaped and powerfully acted upon, doesn't just create results. It can build careers, it can build legacies. And in the next section, we'll explore how Napoleon Hill overcame the toughest times with the mindset he forged and turned those dark moments into financial springboards. Imagine you've spent more than 20 years of your life researching success. You believe in what you've written. You've compiled a set of principles that are crystal clear. And then, when you publish your book, it doesn't sell as well as you'd hoped. You're broke. Your family is struggling. And worst of all, people start to question whether you can actually apply what you've written. This was one of the darkest times in Napoleon Hill's life. Not when he was poor, but when he knew the formula. But life still tested him one last time. But instead of giving up, Hill did one thing. Go back to the mindset he wrote. He reread his goal statement. Hill once wrote, "When adversity comes, go back to your original desire and read it as if it were the only truth left." And he did. Every morning in the midst of debt, he read his financial goal statement aloud. Every night, he visualized himself standing in front of thousands of people, sharing his wealth-building mindset and getting paid for it. He didn't wait for the money to believe. He believed first and then acted as if it were real. When you keep the right mindset in the wrong situation, miracles happen. Hill began to find ways to share his knowledge in other ways. Writing articles, teaching small classes, sending letters to entrepreneurs, and then a major publisher decided to work with him again. The book Think and Grow Rich was reprinted, and this time it exploded. It wasn't luck. It was the reward for being positive, clear, and consistent, even when the results weren't there. Hill didn't just teach the power of thinking, he was living proof that right thinking is not for when things are going well, but for when you have nothing left but yourself. And it is in those moments that you will see the true value of belief, of clear purpose, and of unshakable inner commitment. If you are struggling today, if you think that positive thinking is a luxury when your pockets are empty, remember, Napoleon Hill has been there, but he chose to believe, chose to act, and chose not to betray his thinking. The result? Finances come later, but thinking always comes first. There is one thing that many people misunderstand about Napoleon Hill. They think of him as a positive thinking theorist or a motivational writer. But the truth is, Hill didn't just think differently. He thought deeply enough, clearly enough, and acted long enough for his thinking to become real results. Ordinary people think, but they think, I wish I were better. I wish I had more money. I must have more luck. Hill didn't. He turned every thought into a specific direction. He didn't just want, he committed. He didn't think, I want to be successful. He thought, I will become the most influential thinker in America by helping others discover the power of their own thinking. And the important thing is, he repeated that thought every day and acted as if it were irreversible. The difference lies in depth, clarity, and repetition. When you think shallowly, you just react. When you think deeply, you begin to see patterns. When you think clearly, you are not distracted. And when you repeat that thought every day, your subconscious mind begins to change. Hill knew that thinking once is not enough. Thinking must be trained like a muscle. Like going to the gym. One day does not change your physique, but 90 days, 180 days, you become a different person. The same is true with thinking, and Hill is the most persistent brain gym person you will ever know. Right thinking is only powerful when accompanied by consistency. A person who thinks right for a week and then gives up creates nothing. A person who thinks vaguely for 5 years, still the same. Hill did not think differently for a few days. He lived by that thinking for decades. And that's why he not only achieved financial success, but also left a legacy that has influenced millions of people since. Here's the point that many people miss. Mindset is not a cure. It's a way of life. Mindset is not just about dealing with adversity, it's about how you get through each day, even when no one is watching. And success doesn't come to those who think right a few times, it comes to those who consistently live the right mindset long enough for the sweet fruit to appear. So, if you're looking for a get-rich-quick approach, this video may not be for you. But if you're looking for a mindset that can last you a lifetime and make a real difference, then you're on the right path. You've heard more than a story. You've just been introduced to a way of thinking that, if applied seriously, could change your entire financial and professional life. But the truth is, knowing doesn't change your life. Understanding isn't enough. Only action is the proof of true belief. Napoleon Hill didn't write a book for you to nod your head. He wrote it for you to rewrite your own thinking, starting today. So, let's start with something simple but incredibly powerful. Comment below. I choose to think clearly and act every day towards my goals. Typing this line isn't for fun. It's your first declaration, your public commitment to yourself. When you write it down, you begin to be intentional. When you say it out loud, you send a signal to your subconscious. And when you take action, even if it's just one small step, you activate your profitable mindset. Also, I challenge you. Try reading out loud every morning the goal you want to achieve, with a specific time frame. And come back to this video after a week, you will no longer be the same person you started with. Because mindset, when properly directed, leads to action, results, and ultimately, freedom. The journey has only just begun. And you, the one who is rewriting the next part, you don't just want to hear to know, you want to understand to change. And believe me, that is the first difference between those who drift and those who actively create their lives. But there is a truth that Napoleon Hill emphasized many times, and most people ignore. No lasting change can happen without reprogramming your subconscious mind. You can write down your goals. You can take action for a few days. But if your subconscious mind is still filled with limiting beliefs, sooner or later you will return to the starting point. Hill calls this process auto-suggestion. That is, reprogramming your thoughts with repetitive words combined with strong emotions. If you are really serious about your journey to master your thinking and want to turn your inner strength into external strength, your ideas into assets, then you cannot miss the next video. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss it. And remember, the right mindset is the starting point, but the right subconscious is what keeps you going. See you in the next video, where you will not only think differently, but live differently.